back, Hopeful Tribe. And for those of you who don't know, I'm Sue.
And I'm Deb.
Yes. And we are Hopeful Tribe. We're this tiny little community trying to help people improve the quality of their relationships with themselves and others. So
We were going to do one of our 3 questions about boundaries.
I'll go first. You ask the question.
Okay. So our first question is, what types of boundaries are the hardest for you to set?
It's hardest for me to set boundaries with people who have any kind of power over me, right?
Mhm.
So in the past, when I had bosses, those were really hard for me. Um, um, when I've been in like schools, professors, things like that. Anybody with power over me, I've had a hard time setting boundaries with because I was always worried about what the ramifications would be.
That's actually interesting because isn't that that's actually the third question that you're answering. Like, who do you have a hard time setting boundaries with? So, like, is it like voicing, you're staying true to yourself, or getting someone to speak respectfully to you, or which one of them?
I guess voicing my concerns is the hardest one, especially for when it comes to people with any kind of power over me, because I worry that if I voice my concerns, I'm going to get fired, or if I voice my concerns, I'm not going to get some other thing that I feel like I need or I actually need. It's like I've always lived in really high rent areas in my life. And whenever I've had landlords, I felt like maybe it's not such a good idea to complain if I have a good rent, because I could end up, out on the street or having to pay market rent,
I get it.
If I complain too much.
Yeah.
And that's real.
That is
Some
real.
landlords will put you out.
And I've been in that same situation, right? Things are broken, just fix them yourself or something. So they'll just be like,
oh, look that up.
I never hear from you. Right. Yeah. YouTube, figure out how to fix that toilet. That sort of thing. Yeah. Excellent. Excellent. Okay. So the next question I want to ask you is, how do you feel when you set a boundary?
Oh, well, I guess it's two ways. One, if I'm just setting a boundary with somebody it feels safe to set a boundary with, I feel fine. I feel the same as I felt before I set the boundary. But if it's in like a situation like with a landlord or someone I'm scared to set a boundary with, I get really anxious before I start to set a boundary. Yeah. Gotta like talk myself into it almost, like get myself all psyched up and pray for a while and sing about
what
it.
What would Jeebus do?
Exactly.
Yeah.
All that stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. Right. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so I guess we already sort of did the third one. Should we switch to?
Oh yeah. Yeah, we did. We did my third one already because I was talking about the
you actually you sort of combined them.
Yes, I combined them.
That's good. She's efficient.
Beautiful.
She's efficient. Susie's efficient.
So can I ask you the question?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I like that. So let's go backwards. Who do you have the hardest time setting boundaries with?
Yeah, so I think I have an easy time setting boundaries with people who I don't really know, or I'm not really good friends with them because, I don't care, whatever, we're not friends anyway. Or, like I'm not tied to. I have a more difficult time setting boundaries with people who are close to me. And I think it is because, you don't want to rock the boat. You don't want there to be a rift. And as I said, the biggest learning for me in this was that when you set a boundary, it's about taking care of yourself and you're not worried about like, oh, what if they want to fight with me or they're arguing with me or something, or they're mad at me? You that can't be your goal. Your goal has to be to take care of yourself. But with, family and friends, it's like, you don't want them mad at you, right? So, it's more difficult. But I think it's worth it to do, but it is more difficult. So I have more problems with people who are like close to me setting boundaries. Yeah, I'm not going to pick out like, any
You
individual
don't have to
person.
name
Yeah, I'm not going to name
anybody.
any names. But I'm just saying with family, it's harder and friends, it's harder because I don't, I want us to, there not to be a rocky relationship.
For sure. How do you feel when you set a boundary?
So, okay, I'm going to go with like how I feel right before.
Mhm.
Right before I set the boundary, I often feel like a little bit nervous, like, oh, how are they going to take this? But when I set a boundary, I feel strong and awesome. Like I did what I needed to do for myself. My tone was respectful. I said what I needed to say. So I just feel really awesome. And what I find is, even though there's that fear, and this is especially true with people who you're maybe not that close to, when you set a boundary, there isn't an argument. They just sort of like, they're a little bit like, oh, and some people will respect it. Some people will actually just not, they'll walk away and not pursue it further.
Mhm.
Right. So, yeah, I feel nervous before, awesome when I do it. And actually, even when I do it with people who are close to me, even if they get mad, if I know, yeah, I need to do that for me, I still feel good. I feel like it was the right thing to do. I feel like a relief.
Mhm.
There's like a sense of relief because I was holding something on my heart that I needed to say. So, yeah.
That's awesome. All right. What types of boundaries are hardest for you to set? Here's
So,
the list if you need to refer.
so I would say the walking away when they cray, the leaving a situation when someone communicates disrespectfully. And I think because it just like escalates, and then sometimes if I'm getting upset, I'll let it escalate. So it just escalates to a higher thing. Like, you can't say that, I'll say it, back and forth, right? So that part, and then two, walking away, it almost seems like you gave up on the conversation. Right. And there's even all those things like, oh yeah, you're just, like you might get some feedback like, oh, you're just going to walk away because we're talking. So that whole, walking away when it gets escalated, I think often my instinct is to stay with it and try to de-escalate the situation rather than walking away, even if it's like the person's getting crazier or, speaking more disrespectfully, kind of like to do I'm not yelling at you. I'm not sure why you're yelling at me. Can we bring it down? I'm actually not saying those sorts of hurtful things to you. I'm actually not trying to hurt you in this situation. Try to like sort of reason and get it back to a place where we can talk. So I think, but sometimes it doesn't get back to the place where you can talk and they're just still mad and you've expended a lot of energy. So yeah, the whole walking away instead of like trying to fix it, which might be part of that whole codependent thing that we talked about a few videos back, right? I'll try to fix it, because I'm too tied to the outcome, which you're not supposed to be, right? You're not supposed to be tied to the outcome. You're supposed to just say your truth. So,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You're amazing.
You're amazing. We're amazing.
So thanks so much for being here. I hope you have a beautiful weekend and you stay feeling loved and hopeful the entire week till we see you again.
Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Have a great one.